What is up, guys? Welcome to the Unfaced Facts podcast, a podcast dedicated to all things Gym Leader Challenge. I'm Gym Leader Joshua Benson, and I'm here with Jeff Baisch. And we wish you guys all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It's been yet another year of Gym Leader Challenge. We started off strong with some things that we won't see later on in the year, but it has been a wonderful Gym Leader Challenge meta warping year, Jeff, hasn't it not?
Dude, it's been such a year, man. Whenever I do this episode, obviously the pod's only been around for like less than 2 years. So this is our second time doing a wrapped episode. But whenever I do this episode, I'm just amazed at all the stuff that actually happened, even though it feels like there's a long break in between these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally get you, Jeff. But I feel like I've missed a lot myself this year with all the stuff that I've personally been going through this year with the selling of my house, the moving into a room and not having my normal space and stuff like that. I'm excited to get into a regular space again. Before we started recording this podcast, I was finally having some audio issues, and Jeff was like, finally someone,
it's your turn.
Not myself.
Yeah. If you guys remember, like this, what we were doing, it was still let loose, and we were having, different hosts every week, man. It just felt like we were having audio issues. So it's been a great year in that regard. It feels like the audio issues have been figured and sorted out. The audio has been so clean. We've been very organized, Josh, with our content and our production. There's been so much to talk about. I mean, we've got, sometimes it feels overwhelming with how many deck lists we've had to talk to. I feel like we've talked about, and again, I'm probably hyperbolizing a bit, but it feels like we've talked about 1,000 deck lists this year. I mean, it just feels like a lot.
Yeah, you say we've talked about a lot of deck lists. There are a lot of deck lists in my head, but at the same time, with the way my brain works, there are absolutely zero deck lists in my head.
You haven't been playing enough, Josh. I'm still thinking about Toxtricity.
Hey, so whether I'm playing or whether I'm not playing, there are zero deck lists in my head. I have to have that sucker in front of me. It's almost as if I'm what is that thing that babies have?
Ooh, you're getting me. I got a toddler and you're hitting me. What is the thing that babies have? Colic?
Object
permanence.
Yeah, object permanence.
Yeah, object permanence. That's fun.
I need that in front of me, man. My brain, as soon as it's out of sight. Whoop.
Is it there? Is it still there? No, this is why you play Whale Lord, Josh. This is why you play well. We appreciate you. Put big whale, take 6 prizes, win game. It's all right. We get it. Through this year, we've learned Josh is bad at math. And there's been some other things we learned about you too, Josh. But your Whale Lord is right where you need to be.
Hey, man, I'm just living, trying to get through it all. Hey, don't forget, I'm bad at math, but I like to play the Lost Zone deck. It's one of my favorite decks to play.
Hey, you only have to count to 10, so you're fine. You're fine.
Hey, you tell me that I got to find that extra damage counter on that die. I don't know where it's at. Let me turn that 6 die 20 times.
Well, hey, Pat, you just need to know multiples of 12. You okay? All right, come on, simplify, Josh.
But yeah, it's been a wonderful GLC year. Just getting to see people partake in it. This is the first full year that we've had back with Full Grip being able to have these new release GLC competitions every time. And it's been wonderful to see the immediate cards and the immediate meta change, and the counters to the counters, the counters to the counters to the counters. And it's always fun to see that in real time, especially whenever it's new. So I always like to tune into those whenever I got time. Lately here, I haven't had a whole lot of time. I've been trying to put my effort into some art and art business top stuff. So trying to get that off the ground. But it's been pretty awesome. It's been pretty awesome.
Dude, it's been a good year, man. I say that for both of us. We both been through a lot, but the one constant through it all is this podcast and Gym Leader Challenge and all that it's had. And you mentioned Full Grip games, 3Ks and 1Ks returning, and it's just like you said, it's so fun to see that peak competitive levels. At the same time, though, like you look at, like we're going to go back and kind of review EUICs and some of these other ICs that we saw throughout the year. Of course, the other one's NAIC. And like you're going to see that those are very different events than what Full Grip Games has been. Like the deck lists that show up there, not quite the deck list you'd see when big money's on the line. So it's just kind of cool to see where Gym Leader has come in this last year, and we get to talk about it.
Yep. And with that being said, we've had so many new sets this year. We've had Journey Together, Prismatic Evolutions, Black Bolt and White Flare, Destined Rivals, Phantasmal Flames, and Mega Evolution. And some of these sets are great Gym Leader Challenge sets. Some of these sets are not so great Gym Leader Challenge sets. And we know how that goes. There's some meta warping, there's not so much meta warping, but each set always gives you the ability to play something new. It always keeps the format fresh, especially if you're the one to not be as competitive as possible. You can always, slot in a couple cards from the new set and just see kind of how they interact with your opponent, with the deck that you've built. So, I always like seeing new sets.
Yeah. I mean, as content creators, it gives us something to talk about. It gives us new ideas to brew on. So again, I'll never be sad that we get so many sets, but man, there are a lot of sets, and seeing them up on the screen here and being like, we've had, what is this? 1, 2, I'm going to count White Flare and Black Bolt as the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 6 sets in a calendar year. I mean, that's every 2 months. That's a lot to keep up with. So I get it if you haven't been buying any cards recently, but again, I love talking about cards, and that's what this gives us.
You mentioned not buying a whole lot of cards. That's been another thing that's been, keeping me out of the loop, is that it's been so hard to buy cards.
Dude,
Like,
you're telling
and
me.
I like to open packs. Sometimes I don't like to just order, and my friends get so upset with me all the time because I will not order some of the cards that I actually need online. I always get them at shows, card shows, LGSs, what have you. I'll try to get them in packs. And, with this year alone, everything's been so much more expensive. If you want to bling out a deck, it's becoming so much more, it's so much harder now, and everything's so much more expensive. But I haven't been able to open up most of these sets. I think I've went to Phantasmal and Destined Rivals pre-release tournaments, and I actually opened the Mega Charizard Alt Art at the Phantasmal Flames one. I was hyped. Nobody even knew. I just silently walked up and down our little area with it in my hands. I was just like, oh. And then I finally was whispering. I was like, look what I did it. And, I love, so I'm a collector of the big three. And anytime I get the chance to open it instead of pay full price for it, especially if it's my pre-release deck box, it feels absolutely like really, really cool.
I feel you. And I'm the opposite. I'm not a gambler. I just buy the cards I want. So I did finally break down and get my Phantasmal Flames cards. I got a nice, I think I bought a full art Lily the other day. I got my Toxtricity. I'm finally getting those cards in. So be playing some GLC with some nice, pretty cards soon.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, you mentioned getting a Lilies. I actually somehow opened up a Dawn as well, an SIR Dawn from Phantasmal Flames. So I was like, you know what? I want to see if I can't find a spot to put that in my water deck because it's there. So just mess around with that. I need to get a Hilda myself, so.
Dang, Hilda is the one card. I keep forgetting that card every single time I go to make an order. I cannot remember to order a Hilda to save my life. I'm always like, that's a card I should probably own. Do not own a single copy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing
pause. Yeah. We're going to pause. And when you go down in the comments, I want you to type in, Jeff, get the Hilda now. Okay. I want you to comment down, Jeff, get the Hilda now. You'll be entered into a drawing for optimal bragging rights. And It's going to be awesome. So just give that reminder down to Jeff in the comments right now. Also, now that we're in the middle of this, I'll remind you later, but subscribe, give us a like, let us know how you like the podcast by, sharing it with a friend and stuff like that. So we love doing this and we want to get it out to more people. And sometimes it just doesn't feel like it's getting out to the right people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're Arrested Development season 3. Please tell your friends.
How many seasons was Arrested Development?
I think it ended up being 5, right? Because there were the 3 originals, then it got canceled. Netflix brought it back, and then Netflix did 2 seasons, and then went back and redid the 4th season so that it wasn't character per episode. They actually did it in a long stint. So I don't really know. There's actually, I guess, like maybe 6 seasons if you count season 4 as having 2 different modes. So anyway,
so with no spoilers, I made it, as far as we got to where, what's his face? Gene Michael.
What's Michael Bluth? Are you talking about,
the
Little Man?
George Bluth and his son. Yeah, George Michael. They go off on that boat, and that was the last episode I watched. And it was like a time skip, but not like a time skip in the show. It was a time skip outside the show, and everybody was like, I think that was when it got canceled or something. But that was kind of a hilarious show.
It's my favorite show. I've probably seen the entire first 3 seasons, probably no less than 50 times all the way through. Like that's the show I put on when I go to bed. If I need some background music, Arrested Development is great. I needed to put more like quotes into our show from Arrested Development. There was even a point where, and you don't know this, Josh, this is the first time ever airing this out, I had a group chat where I was creating Arrested Development cards, like a card game, Arrested Development. And it was like, I've got custom made cards for like the banana stand and like the different, I was using magic mechanics. So there were a couple of different like vehicles, like the stair car was a vehicle. But anyway, I love that show so much. So I'm glad that we got a reference here anyway.
When you love TCGs, you try to bottle a TCG after your favorite show.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, but with like all the universes beyond stuff and Magic right now, you got Spider-Man, you got Avatar: The Last Airbender, you have The Walking Dead. Yeah, you've got The Office. I mean, I'm telling you, Arrested Development, universes beyond. It's gonna happen. Call me up, wizards. I've got the cards already made.
Yeah. Hey, before we get into, the year thing, Yu-Gi-Oh! We're on the topic of TCGs. Yu-Gi-Oh! Finally, and I haven't been like into Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I have been lately before this. For one, it's kind of easier to find Yu-Gi-Oh! On the shelves there for a little bit, which was great. Mm-hmm. But they finally started printing, or they're going to be printing, full art, like, was it some border breaking style cards? So they have like a border break card, regular, and then they have a border break grandmaster. And I think there's some serialized, I'm not sure, but it looks kind of sweet. So I'm excited for that to see if that turns into anything.
Okay.
Will they have play like 1 or 2 decks? So
yeah. Will they have regular printing still? Like, will these just be like max rarity? Okay. I love
that
TCGs are moving to this. Like, Pokemon does it so well, where you have like, here's your competitive game piece, and like you can buy lilies for like 25 cents a pop, right? And then you've got your next art version, you got your foils, then you have the full arts, then you have the SRIs, so you have like the mega collectors, but then your cards to play are just so cheap. So hey, TCGs, keep doing this, keep giving us options for our cards, but make sure that you always give everyone a cheap option so that we can continue to play the game.
Yes. And with that being said, January, it all started with Prismatic Evolutions, one of the most useless sets all year. Actually, I think there's another set that might tie it for the most useless. Actually, might be the most useless later. I think this is second most useless. But Prismatic Evolutions brought us some new, different type of, brought us Badoo, definitely brought us Badoo. Badoo had the Ichipon, kind of leveled up grass decks per se to kind of give grass decks time to set up a little bit more. So, I'm not sure if this is played in Egg Mill, right? I think this is one of the one of the cards that kind of leveled it up a little bit further.
Yeah. I think it's in there for sure. I'd have to go back and look. It's been a while since I looked at the Egg Mill deck list.
I tell you what, though, Badu, I feel like is mostly a auto include in a lot of different grass decks, just because it's such a good like D setup card while you're getting set up. You don't allow your opponent to search out things. You're just slowly whittling things down, and just stuff like that. So Badu, what it came in through Prismatic Evolutions. We had the really cool uh, reverse hollows that kind of had some the Pokeball pattern as well. I believe there was a Master Ball pattern as well included with that, which is really kind of cool. I have not gotten any of those actually, and I only opened up one ETB, and the ones that I do have are completely useless. But they were really kind of cool if you were into the textured reverse hollows.
Yeah. I mean, Badu was kind of like the only Gym Leader Challenge playable card from this set. Was this a reprint set even? It's so hard for me to remember all these things.
It was, to a point, a reprint set because it reprinted a bunch. I think that Badu was a new card, and then a lot of the evolutions were new cards, and then I think it gave us some different hollow energies, gave us the reverse hollows.
Yeah.
And I mean, mostly a reprint.
Yeah, and I mean, know that the set and like the previous ones were kind of Terra focused, and Terra was never a mechanic that really found its way into Gym Leader Challenge because those cards were rules box Pokemon. So, sad that Prismatic Evolutions didn't give us more. Kind of a bummer start to the year, but we were kind of worried about Badu. We were like, is Badu like the card that we really want to see? And it ended up like not really mattering like that much. My only grass lost in the year, and I thought I played grass a ton this year, was I had Badu in the active and got donked. So I have sad memories of Badu, but I've seen it work for other people. So
the only thing Badu did for me was lose me the game.
He fainted right away. I mean, my opponent did start Talonflame. So it was like the stage 2 Talonflame that comes down, and like it just needs one energy and it does 40. So like we were cooked from the start. So poor Badu.
Poor Badu. Yeah, and that's pretty much, I think, all that happened in January was the Prismatic Evolutions, introductions, and Badu.
Yeah, really. Not a lot.
February brought us one of the first ICs, the Pokemon International Championships. This one is EUIC set in Europe. And with some of these ICs, I can't remember how many players were at each of them, but I remember some of these being like 30 to 70 players, something like that. Some of them being on the lower end. But it was always cool to see Pokemon region, like Pokemon, the company International, actually put a little bit of weight into the ICs and having like, you're not necessarily getting a cash prize, but a lot of the time there was like a Switch involved. So you got like a Switch series. The winner of this would get a Switch. And also you can get a lot of points from this. If it works the same thing as regionals, you can get a lot of points, spend that on the prize wall. I got a really cool Pokemon fanny pack that I've been using for the past year with mine. And I get compliments on it all the time, Jeff. It's crazy.
I bet you wear a fanny pack well.
Dude, that's what I'm told. People don't, I don't say these things. People tell me these things.
Sure. Josh is over here just making up what he wishes people would tell him. He's just like, well, next time you see me, I'm going to be wearing this fanny pack. You better tell me I look good. I see you queuing it up. But hey, with the EIC, go check out our episode we did on it. Like if you want to know all of the deck lists and how many players, we knew all that information back then. We did have a tiny snafu in that episode. We missed followed the 2 colorless list in the top 8, and we ended up crediting the champion to the wrong person. So now we get a chance to kind of rectify that. And this is Dag Kyung's turbo colorless list that won. Double energy is included. It was a really cool list at the time. Check it out. Also included in the top 8 from that, in case you guys want to go check it out, was we had Hitmon's doing well, Ting Lu fighting, actually made an appearance all the way back in February, doing well in that list. Okie dokie, rocking out. And there were a couple different lightning lists, one a more traditional spread list, and then one was kind of an out there lightning list that had like the Raikou, which was kind of absurd. So go check out those lists if you haven't. It's a good episode. It's way back from February, though.
Yes, really old. And some of these, and like I said beforehand, we've had rulings, we've had new sets come out. So colorless looks a lot different now in December than it did back in February, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it's kind of cool to see, like in just one calendar year, how this list is going to evolve and change with printings and with other things. Foreshadow. Can you foreshadow the past? No, no.
You can if you're Scrooge and
Got
getting, a ghost of past, present, and future.
There you
It all
go.
happens.
There you go.
Which brings us to March, one of the biggest sets of the year for Gym Leader Challenge. There's a lot to be had with this. We had a really cool showing for new cards. I'm not going to spoil it yet because we're going to talk about it here in the same month. But we got Journey Together. Journey Together was so great. And it brought us 2 megaliths of Pokemon, and even kind of like a package of sorts. We got the Hops package that came with the Choice Band that gave you 30 extra damage to your Hops with your Hops Pokemon. Hops Snorlax had the ability to give you another 30 extra damage to all of your Hops Pokemon. Dynamic Press for 170. You lost 80 when that was actually first announced. It was mistranslated, and it would heal you 80, and I was like, golly, this is insane. And then we very quickly got that fixed, and it was that you took 80 damage yourself. I was like, okay, so you can't really attack with this more than 2 times in a row unless if you find a way to get healed or put on some extra HP with the tool. And then Hops Cramorant, which was one of my favorites to this. Fickle Spitting for 1 energy with the Hops Choice Band. It lets you hit for 1 less colorless, bringing it down to for 0 energy 120, and then you can hit for 150 with the added extra damage modifier. And if you had a Snorlax on the bench, you're hitting for 180. Look, my math is hitting today, Jeff. I don't know what to tell you.
Just wait till you bring in the stadium. Postwick. It adds 30 more damage. Josh, what number are we at?
210.
Oh, dang. He's so good today, guys. You don't know this. I sent him some math workbooks in between our last couple pods episodes. He's been really working at it. So
I've been working hard on him every day.
Proud of you.
Every day. And then Jeff, being such a great teacher, he teaches both Spanish and math.
Mm-hmm.
To me,
anybody else. Son. Yeah. The Hops package kind of going on this dominant at the time. We were all a little worried about it. We read Hops Choice Band and we were like, oh my goodness. And, it's definitely some scary cards, but the more and more I've played against these cards, especially like the last, month or so, I've really kind of enjoyed the counterplay to them because, Fickle Spitting, you mentioned how amazing it is, Josh, but obviously there's so many ways you could just like KO around it, and then all of a sudden it's the most worthless card on the board. So while I know that some people have had some issues with the Hops package and see these cards as kind of like net negatives in the colorless decks or just in Gym Leader Challenge in general, I actually really enjoy the gameplay that they've added. So
yeah,
awesome.
I really do too. I like that 3-4 prize mechanic because it forces yourself and your opponent to kind of think and play around that a little bit. Like, how can I prevent my opponent from doing this so I can do this, vice versa. Mm-hmm. Another Hops Pokemon or Hops card was the Hops Double, which whenever you evolved it turned into a boss essentially, and you could boss up one of your opponent's Pokemon, which is kind of cool. There's a deck that Trevor Redding played, or Tankman?
Oh, yeah.
The same person?
That was in the full group, the 1K we're about to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, the one that we're about to talk about did really cool with a Hops package, playing all that and the Pelipper. We don't have the deck list per se on that, so if you want to know about that, like Jeff said earlier, you can always revisit a lot of these different podcasts that we went over all of these things. So there's a lot more detail in all the deck lists. But yeah, there was very, very Very cool deck list that Trevor put up. And then another card, monolith of a Pokemon, was Wailord, Hydro Pump, hit for 10 plus 50 per water energy that you had on there. So this attack costs 4 energy to get going. So, math, 4 times 5 is, 20. Add a 0 to that. That's 200. Then 10, 210. We're there. And another one, 260. And it just keeps crawling from there. But another thing that this Wailord has is 240 HP. One of the biggest that you'll see in GLC, just huge amount of HP. I don't necessarily play the Hydro Pump version myself that much more anymore, just because I like the play style of the more tanky tag team style. But this Wailord, I do have it on standby and a bunch of cards ready to play Hydro Pump at one point because I do enjoy this Wailord, and it has a really cool IR as well.
Yeah, the IR is the one I bought at the Atlanta Regionals. One of my favorite cards to have picked up and see in person. It was just so pretty. So really excited to add it to one of my Fishies jump list. Wailord, so many good printings. We had the 200 Water Veil Wailord. Then we got to the special wave jumbo size Wailord as well, and then we got this one, which is just like there's so many good Wailords to pick from. This one feels like the biggest upgrade to the Water Veil Wailord, and it really just kind of kicked out some of the counterplay there were to the other Wailord, specifically the jumbo sized Wailord, who was really vulnerable to Mimikyu. So playing this Wailord kind of, made that card so less useful in the meta, and it's just so hard to deal with 240 HP, which is just so difficult to deal with. This card came in, it was big, it stayed big, and it really has defined our year to some degree.
Yep. And you'll see in the deck list coming in the future that this Wailord may or may not have done some damage in some of those tournaments.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the first 1K Gym Leader Full Grip Games tournament of the year. This is the return since the last one, I think, was Astral Radiance or Brilliant Stars. One of the two was the very last one. And then we had a huge standstill as, Andrew Mahone and Full Grip were trying to get new spaces figured out, kind of get a bigger area so they could host bigger tournaments. And what they have done is amazing over there. We haven't got to, experience it firsthand, but a lot of hard work went into it. And now they have a nice studio space to host these tournaments and whatnot, and even have a nice table and area for feature tournaments as well, or feature matches as well, which is really cool. And, bringing in the first one of the year, and Ben Morse wins it with his colorless. And if you don't know Ben Morse, you should. Gym Leader Challenge. He's one of the pinnacles in Gym Leader Challenge. He has his own YouTube channel at Morse Makes, and he is just, a good guy in the community. He's been on the podcast several times. He's just a recurring member for the podcast for these Full Grip Challenge tournament recaps. We like to have his input as well because, he gets to experience it firsthand. It's really quite cool to hear all the insight that he has. But we have I'm not even going to use the word, we have a DTE twin, era style list. And I believe that this list was just bonkers. Did so well. I can't remember his record, but he did so well with it. And I think one or two losses, maybe 0 losses. I can't remember. But yeah, it was so cool to see the piloting of this deck, to see what it went against. Albeit there are some new typings that have gotten better throughout this year. I'd like to see some matchups, like DTE twin era with some of the new fighting era. I'd like to see, those matchups, see how those fare.
I think we'd all know who would win. But
why you got to say that like that?
I mean, come on. Weakness is a thing, bro. Come on. Come on,
man. It is.
That's that math again. All right, but
that gun math.
But this was really cool to see Ben. I mean, he did so well. You mentioned he's such a nice dude. He's like one of the nicest dudes we talk to on a regular basis. I love Ben. So go check him out if you haven't. But this list was designed for the mirror, right? I think this was the tournament where we saw almost everyone bring colorless. So the fact that he's got counter catcher and he's got lost vacuum, plus field blower here, he was really worried about those tools. Enhanced hammer as well was just kind of the text that he was looking for, and it did him really well on the day. Obviously, winning it all, and this 1K at the time, I think this was a 1K if I'm not mistaken. Although they did switch to 3Ks, as we'll see coming up here in a bit. But yeah, just kudos to Ben for this list, and as a direct result of maybe how well colorless did here at this tournament, and maybe how it had done through the year, and maybe how people had felt about the type, we get to April.
April. It's my birthday month. No,
Woo!
we got some big bannings in April. The Twin Energy and Double Colorless leave the standard format of Gym Leader Challenge, and it's no longer playable. This last tournament, this 1K tournament, was also one of the last times that you saw Dark do so well as well, because Dark was really kind of climbing up as well during this time, and right after this, it fell off and still trying to find itself, just like Lightning is still trying to find itself. Colorless, after this takes quite a dip as well. People try to recoup it in the next tournament. We'll speak on somebody who actually made it into the finals with a colorless list, but more of a list that was how could I say this? A list that was built around the fact that these were banned and then that we no longer use them per se. So seeing this loss kind of hit some of my fun decks. Actually, I think it hit a lot of people's fun decks more so than it hit the meta decks per se, because a lot of Gym Leader Challenge isn't necessarily about playing the most competitive deck. At these tournaments it may be, but Gym Leader Challenge at the roots is about playing your fun decks, your favorite Pokemon, your favorite type, and just going with it. And some of these decks require that you play a double colorless, a twin, a double turbo, a lot of these double colorless energies. And, after that banning, a lot of those fun decks got hit. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It sucks, but, we kind of get through it. We kind of, as Gym Leader Challenge connoisseurs and deck brewers, you find a way around it and will eventually find new fun decks per se.
Yeah. A lot of collateral damage on this one, but ultimately I think it was the right decision. I mean, you got to go through and look at just like the percentage, the win rate percentages of these colorless decks were just absurd through the roof. I think on Cardboard Warriors, it was like 60-something% at some point. And it just, we saw it at that 1K just absolutely dominate. We had actual evidence of it doing so well at the highest level. So double energies had to go. Again, Guzzlord might have been the biggest hit taker here. Dark hasn't really recovered. And then you look, Dragon gets to keep its double energy, and obviously for reasons stated, Dragon's a very popular type. It's got different color values. So having DDE kind of helps that type with consistency more than it would colorless per se. But, it's double energies. There's just always an issue. Double turbo gets to stick around, though. So, there's still a chance to do that. Plus, colorless had just got a lot of different fun tools in the shape of Fan Rotom recently. And then you just got the new Hops package, which made it a little less reliant on those double energies. And we're actually going to see it do pretty well for a while, even without these energies, which again was all the worse if you were a type like Dark that was like, that was all we had. And now colorless is still continuing to do well post-ban. Ugh, the worst.
Earlier I mentioned about fighting and, who would win against colorless pre, and of course fighting would win. So what would happen in a world where we waited not knowing that fighting comes back and keeps colorless in check? And then we have this world where we can still have our double colorless.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that one of these could possibly come back from the band graveyard? But I know that this isn't actual things that could happen or even wish it would happen. I'm just, asking the question.
Yeah, it's a good hypothetical to have, and obviously, it's a fun one to talk about. So why not? Obviously, I think double energies are just bad for the game in general, just because they give so many types early advantages, and like the steamroll effect, right? Like a double energy attachment on turn 1 or 2, puts someone so much further ahead than someone else. So even if fighting was as good as it is now, colorless is still going to have the advantage over almost every single type if it can just get, a Snorlax hitting on turn 2, or even like Cyclizar hitting in on turn 2 for whatever damage it was doing, I think 140, right? So again, I just don't think that double energies are healthy for a format that especially prides itself on the longevity of the games. But if every type had a double energy, you're fine. It's just that colorless got to abuse it better than the others. So it was probably always going to be an issue to be looked at. The time frame that this occurred probably affected it more. And if fighting had those same cards that really boost the type printed 6 months earlier, I don't know if we would have had the bans, to be honest, Josh. I think maybe they would have stayed.
Hey, that was a whole lot of stuff that you said. It was great. Actually, I mean, the points you're making were pristine.
Oh, thank you. Again, I have them every so often. This is the last
I think
decent point of the year.
One of those points.
Right.
Yeah.
Chalk it up.
You brought it, not only like you brought it here, right? You brought it here, and then you brought it here, and then you tied it up and put a nice little bow on it by saying, I don't think I would see those bannings happen. So like, I was on the fence with you, and now I'm on the same side with you, Jeff. I don't know if we would have saw those same bannings either if we had something keeping it in check beforehand.
Yeah, everyone just needs a Josh in their life. He just, he's just the best glazer. You do something well, and Josh is just right there to be like, you did a good job. You boost my self-esteem so much, Josh. My life is so much better with you in it. Actual factual bromance happening on screen.
Hey, you say that. May we got. Hey, let me go back a little bit. Go back to Ben's list right quick. Because something was on my mind. Oh, anyway, you mentioned the tools and the enhanced hammer and the tool removal and just the removal in general. But I don't know if we talked about the lack of the boosting, the HP boosting, and the slight damage boost that you normally would see in the specific deck. You had opted out of that to put in those tool removal things and the energy removal as well. And I remember very distinctly whenever I was in the middle of listening to our double colorless talk about that.
Yeah, man. Good.
Just wanted to put that back in there. Anyways, May comes along. Gym Leader Challenge is announced for Pokemon Trading Card Game Live. Everybody ecstatic. It's amazing. It's wonderful to hear. It's Sun and Moon on. Some people would love that. It's not Gym Leader Challenge. It's kind of weird to me. I like, if there's going to be a format, that's the format I'm playing. If it's not the format, it's not the format. I'm not going to put my time into it necessarily, albeit it could be fun. But, Black and White series is missing. X and Y series is missing. And there's a lot of cards in there that help make these decks what they are right now, right? Let's say if we get with, which would be crazy if this happened, but let's say if all those cards were banned beforehand and it became Sun and Moon on, there we go. We're in it. I love it. PTCGO is perfect. But, we get on this thing. Tag teams are also not working correctly. And this is at that time, not like current right now. Currently it works fine right now, right? But whenever that first came up, there were so many like little issues with it. You couldn't find specific things. You couldn't play those. And it just kind of, a lot of decks use tag teams. And what if you just can't use those, right? Mono and Lawn is important. Cynthia Caitlin's important. Tag call is important. Uh, the most important card, the name escapes me right now. What is it? Guzman Hala?
Yeah, Guzman Hala.
Yeah, Goose Hala is an extremely important card for a lot of these different decks, and that was just unusable there for a second. But very quickly got fixed. We played it, and then it felt like Gym Leader Challenge, the World Gym Leader Challenge, that, Jeff, holds the same sentiment because we kind of talked about it. It kind of made the Gym Leader Challenge world a little smaller because you would see people on the Discord saying, hey, I think I just matched up against you. Hey, I think I just matched up against you. Oh, that's really cool. And then good job. It was pretty cool to see people, just say, tag other people in the Discord and say, hey, I think I got to play against you. And it's really cool to see that. I don't think anybody could recognize me because I didn't get any of those. But Jeff, I know that you got a ton.
Oh yeah, my PTCGL username is just Jeff Baisch, so you definitely knew if you were playing against me. But yeah, I think this was great. I think out of all the things that happened this year, you look at the return of the 1K, some amazing cards being added to our pool. I think the thing that's probably the most important for the growth of the format is an online client where people can log in and play the game, casually or competitively, however they really want to play it, but that they just have access to it at any point in time of the day. And so this was a big step in that direction towards growing the format. You mentioned some of those issues that we had, and they're getting better. I love the format on PTCGL. Again, it's not Gym Leader Challenge. It's like Diet Gym Leader Challenge. You don't have Hexamaniac. You don't have Silent Lab for those spread decks. So you're never beating a bench barrier unless you're doing some
Versus Seeker.
Yeah, there's no VS Seeker either. But once you figure all that stuff out, the gameplay is still really compelling and fun. And at its core, it is very Gym Leader challengey, even more so because you're missing a lot of the powerful cards. And if you're someone who, like me, who doesn't necessarily like to always play the most powerful cards, this was definitely a super fun way to play. And it continues to be one of the best ways to play this format right now, in my opinion. So there's great. We've seen it evolve. They brought it back each and every time a new set was released, or at least a main set was released. So you saw Gym Leader Challenge come back. It had its couple weeks. And then this last time they were like, we're going to give it the month-long treatment. So right now you can play Gym Leader Challenge. It's been there for a month. I've just been spamming Turbo Dark just because it's super easy to play. It's got some new cards. It's fun to do. And I'm just working my way up the ladder. But I think it's great. And I think that there are signs that this is going to be a permanent feature. They're going to fix the ability to challenge friends, and we're going to see maybe some of those important cards added. I think those are things that are going to happen. Still conjecture, but in my heart of hearts, it feels like they're putting more emphasis on Gym Leader Challenge. You can just tell by the length of time they've dedicated to it in this last set. So hey, kudos to Creatures and TPCI for working on this and getting it out there and launching. It might not be perfect, but it is a fun way to play, something that I love.
Yeah, I would love to see them fix all those things, and I would actually be on the app a lot more often than I am now.
Yeah,
I think I'm on the app 2 times in 2 months.
Yeah. I mean, for everyone complaining too, this is not uncommon. This same thing happened to Magic the Gathering, where they created a new format and they created a new card agent, card client, and it didn't have all of the formats on it. And then they had to go back and create a scuffed format of a format they had just released that didn't have all the cards, and it took years for it to get on the client. So again, there's precedent for this in other card games. It's obviously something that's more difficult than we all think about. So I'm willing to extend some grace, but man, I just want some Gym Leader Challenge on command. That's our on demand is what I should say. On demand.
On demand Gym Leader Challenge.
Oh yeah.
That came in May, and then June came along, and we got Scarlet and Violet Destined Rivals, the Team Rocket set that everybody was super excited for. I was actually super excited about this set because I wanted the new Giovanni's Boss's Orders card to come out, which we did not get. we got like a Guzma version of it, but with Team Rocket's Pokemon, and I was severely disappointed. But I think, my personal opinion, the SIR Mewtwo, Team Rocket's Mewtwo, is one of the coolest Mewtwo cards ever printed. And apparently that is not the same sentiment that a lot of other collectors think.
Yeah. As someone who doesn't collect and doesn't know what that card looks like, I don't know if I agree with you.
That's all right. Perfect. Perfect. Destin Rivals brought us some new cards. They brought us back Raikou Incarnate, the Blaziken that did not quite see the light of day too much, but was really cool to see, a balanced version of what Raikou could have been, or make Raikou a little bit harder since it was basic. And then Grass got a bench barrier. Yep, just a bench barrier, which is really cool. And then we got Rapidash, which is a +1. And you just got a +1 draw. No conditions at all. You just +1 draw, and it was cool. You could use that with Magmar, or not Magmar, Magmortar.
Magcargo.
Man, I'm going through all the Maggie.
It's all right.
Pokemon.
It's letter slid.
Cargo. Right. Supporter card, put on top of your deck, draw into it with Rapidash, and that's kind of a cool combo as well. There's other combos that people have been using for a while. This is just unconditional way to get that, which is pretty cool. But this is what Destin Rivals brought us. Nothing too crazy for. There are some other cards too. These are just like your big three that everybody or most people thought were going to be pretty decent.
Yeah.
And
not pictured is Team Rocket's Arbok, which people thought was going to be kind of like, I don't know, maybe like a card that would branch off like a new archetype, potentially like Dark Spread was in the works, or maybe even like a control type build, because that card stops people from playing evolution cards from their hand, so you could like pair it with like Devo, or Devolution TM or something like that, and like pop cards back to your opponent's hands, and then they couldn't play a Pokemon with abilities. So like there were some things beyond this that were pretty cool, but these were definitely the cards that people were talking about, and I think that Team Rocket's Arbok probably might be in this list too.
Yeah, there was also another card, Sacred Ash, came with an errata, so you could shuffle up to 5 Pokemon instead of shuffling 5 Pokemon back into your deck. And I know that Colorless used Sacred Ash a little bit more so at the, a couple years ago, more so.
Yeah, those Porygon Z builds liked it a little bit more. You don't have any cards to get best special energy besides special charge, so why play something like Ordinary Rod? You're already playing Rescue Stretcher, so Sacred Ash was probably your next best recovery tool at that time.
Got you 5. Next up, we had the Destined Rivals Gym Leader Challenge 3K. So this is where we made the hop from 1K. Hop.
Oh, what a pun!
Oh, this is where we made the hop from Journey Together 1K to Destined Rivals 3K tournament hosted by Full Grip Games. And that was really cool. At this one, necessarily, we saw lots of cool different decks. And this is where I think the last time we saw Colorless in the top of one of these, it was played by Lion Shin and played more of a turbo. Would you say a turbo or more attack-oriented Ursaluna deck? I believe it was a little bit more attack-oriented. I think it had Snorlax in there, like the Hop Snorlax.
I think
and some other things.
I think it was actually the Gormandized Snorlax, if I'm not mistaken, the one that draws you up to 7 if it's in your hand. It definitely did have Fan Rotom, which is obviously a great attacker in itself. But this Ursaluna build was real interesting, the Lion Chin build. And of course, go back and watch our Destined Rivals 3K recap episode where we go more in depth on all of this. But Lion Chin's build was so cool because it was all about getting to the bottom of your deck and then using, Ursaluna's Pete Hunt to basically like recycle cards and then to always like have like POW pad to recycle cards back into your deck. You were just kind of using your discard pile as your deck. Like you had access to your deck in the form of it being your discard pile. It was such a cool deck. Watching him pile it all day was really, really cool. And it just seemed like maybe one or two tiny mistakes from all these really convoluted and complicated lines that he had to take just really cost him maybe a championship and the crack at the big prize. But it was still a really cool deck to see.
Yep, yep. And then if this whale right there didn't give you any foreshadow of who would win, the Hydro Pump Waylord from Juggle Together, Journey Together from Chucky. And, you know, we see just a good standard Hydro Pump list taking it all. And we, you know, with one of my favorite setup cards in the water deck is an Alolan Vulpix over the Basculin. At one point, I did play both, but if I had to choose one, Alolan Vulpix is great with the risk of always getting it Marnied or Ionoed or End or anything back into your deck. But whenever that doesn't happen, you know, you're going somewhere.
Yeah. This was really cool because, you know, we just had the bannings. So, like, no one really knew what was going to happen. Like, the last 1K, we were like, colorless is top dog. And then we came into this and everyone was like, well, what is top dog? You know, there's this Wailord that has 240 HP. Will that reign supreme? Is colorless going to find its way back to the top? Is it Psychic's time to shine? Maybe. But, I mean, like, we had, I think, 3 colorless lists in the top 8 of this one. We had 2 turbo style lists that had the Hops package. We had Lion Chin's Ursaluna. So colorless was not going away at this point. And then the rest was just water and psychic. I mean, if there was a big 3 of big 3s, that's it. That's what this tournament was all about. And it came down to Wailord being on top with the most stock version of a Hydro Pump list ever. And just that one card added in. So like, it's good to see an old classic still doing well. And hey, here we are in April, March, May. And it's you know, May of 2025, and you know, good old Hydro Pump water, still good. Oh, June, still doing well.
We're in June now.
Yeah, halfway through the year.
Yep. So now we're halfway through the year. So much has happened in a Gym Leader Challenge, and so much more is to come. But enough about that. We got NAIC. The North American International Championships, which brought us, you know, more people from, you know, multiple different places. International championships have people from all around the world that come and play at these tournaments. And sometimes they partake in the Gym Leader Challenge tournaments. And we see Jake Crampton win with the Psychic list. And this is back whenever Smoochum is still being played. We haven't seen Smoochum being played in too many decks now. Latios is also being played. Another card that sees play from time to time. But Iron Boulder was one of those cards that started to be played a little bit more about halfway through this year. I think people started to play the Iron Boulder a little bit more and started to take off from this point on. And it was really cool to kind of see the way Psychic's done. And Psychic is one of the most popular GLC decks. It's been that way for some time, but with each new set, new Psychic cards are coming in, and we're just getting new archetypes, and it's not even on purpose. It's just mostly on accident, and it's so fun to see.
Yeah. And this also was really cool because I had the Memories of Don Mew too that could copy attacks from your basic attack Pokemon on your bench. So like having Mew kind of be like a second Iron Boulder was kind of nifty. So this was just a really cool list. And you know, I've had to eat my words a couple times talking about this Blindside Crisis Punch combo with the double prize not to. It seems to just be doing really well, and that Psychic has all the tools to really make a combo work with it. So yeah, cool to see this list. And again, I think I ended up sleeving this list up and really playing it a ton and really, really enjoying it and being like, I should play Memories of Don Mew more and more, and then realizing that maybe a 50 HP basic was a little bit of a liability at times. But hey, I liked this list, and I loved what NAIC gave us to look at. Really, at this tournament, it was all about, obviously, Jake's Psychic list that did really well. I think there was one or two other Psychic lists in the top 8, but you saw Dragon and Hop's colorless still doing pretty well at this point in the year. So again, did that double energy band do a whole lot? Not yet.
Oh, yes. And then, we get July, Black Ball and White Flare comes along, and there's not a whole lot of play in this. There's not a whole lot of, we thought we were going to see some cool cards like Zoroark do some things. We haven't really saw Zoroark do anything. The old Zoroarks are still probably your better bet, like Stand In, or the Foul Play is a double colorless instead of triple colorless energy. And, some of these old Zoroarks might be a little bit better. This Zoroark is just a mismatch between the two and isn't the best. Dynamo is a small upgrade. I'm sure that if you play Lightning and you play the Dynamotor or Electric, that you're going to play this Dynamo. It's just, a good upgrade. This isn't meta warping at all, per se. It's Whoa. And then Hilda. We got Hilda. Search your deck for an evolution Pokemon and an energy and reveal them. Hilda is probably one of the better cards that kind of leveled up some decks, gave you a little bit more, kind of gave you a better way to find. We have these supporters coming out that let you search for two different things. Cars's Tenacity was a stadium. It's special energy. Hilda's an energy, which can be a basic or a special energy. And then evolution Pokemon. So we like seeing these new supporters that come out that have get this and this and this with no conditions besides it's your supporter for turns. So it's really cool. And I think Hilda's one of those better cards to come out of this set to allow people to have a little bit better search for specific things in their deck.
Yeah, 2-for-1s are great. So, just getting 2 cards for free. Love it all the time. Hilda, Arvin, those sorts of cards. Gotta love them. Yeah, this set was really just about little pushes here and there, making cards slightly better than they used to be, besides this Dynamo that's on the screen, and besides the Zoroark maybe being a combination. We saw an Embor as well that got a little bit better push in the HP and the damage factors. So, hey, there's some cool cards. Everything had full art, if I'm not mistaken, from this list. So, if you're looking at Max Blaine, that was a really cool Electric that I ended up picking up from my list. The Dynamo art was beautiful. So, yeah, this was a really cool set for collectors, and especially collectors of this generation. But yeah, did it add a whole lot to Gym Winter Challenge? No, but these are all cards that I've definitely played on screen. So it did have a little bit of an impact, to say the least.
I think also this came with that Tortuga that hit for 30 damage for your opponent's items in the discard pile. So that was kind of a cool card that came out. And I think we don't see the winner play that in the last 3K that we'll talk about lastly, but they'd get into second place, I believe. And that, they had that package, the Tortuga package in their deck as well, just kind of playing a lo-fi water deck.
Yeah. I really like that card too. So yeah, good set. This is kind of the type of set you want in the middle of the year, to be honest. You kind of just want like a collector set that's going to give you options to bling, that's going to have a couple of cards. You're all feeling a little bit fatigued, having to keep up with the meta and the format. So having a nice set like this come along that's like, hey, get the cards if you want to, but you don't necessarily need to. It's kind of nice and refreshing to have this at that stage.
September came afterwards. We got Mega Evolution. I felt like I was blindsided by this because I hadn't been keeping up so much, but Mega Evolution isn't Scarlet and Violet. It's its own little block. So Mega Evolution starts a new block. We got some new things to come from, new archetypes, different styles of supporters, different styles of trainers, different styles of Pokemon. Really cool. I'm super excited about this. And, we got some really good cards out of this set. And some of those cards that we got out of the set is Lily's Determination, Shuffle Draw 6, If you have 6 prizes, shuffle draw 8. That is an incredible card. It's an auto include. I'm unfortunately possibly going to have to get rid of my super expensive blingy Cynthia to put this Lily's Determination in, which is very sad. Ugh. And then we got Lunatone. Fighting finally got draw. Finally, fighting got draw, got what it wanted. Everybody got what they wanted. At what cost? At what cost did they take that? Now we got this crazy deck that's just going rampant. And then we got Force of Vitality. It's just a slightly worse version of Force of Giant Plants. Force of Vitality lets you, each player's grass Pokemon can evolve into grass Pokemon during the turn that they put it down, except during their first turn. So Force of Giant Plants would let you do it on their first turn, which is really quite good. Force of Vitality, you have to wait after your first turn. Still really good per se, and can really help you speed things up in the setup process. But this set is one of those, boost every deck with the Lily's Determination, but also helps fighting jump so many tiers so quickly. It was kind of crazy. And I believe also this set came out with a Marshadow that for 2 energy hit him for 60, but then you were invincible afterwards. And there's not a whole lot of ways to work around that besides, I can't really think of how many times people worked around that during these tournaments that we're going to talk about soon, because it was just really hard for a lot of people to do so. But this set came with a lot of meta warping cards per se.
Yeah. I mean, like you didn't even mention, there's like the fighting electro power, or the fighting gong, which was like a basic Pokemon or an energy, right? Like fighting got a big upgrade, and then you even like overshadowed some of what was happening elsewhere because of what we got a new Meganium in this set, which was an upgrade on Venusaur, more HP, more damage, less retreat, and it just was all like, who cares about those cards? You got Lunatone and Solrock, which Solrock ended up being a very good attacker, 1 energy, 70 damage. Don't take weakness or resistance into account. So like this set, if there is a defining moment of what our year was like at Gym Leader Challenge, up until September, it was one way, and then everything changed. And Mega Evolution was a big factor in what we're going to see going forward and what we saw from September to now.
Yeah, it was a big change, and it brought us to, the Full Grip Games Mega Evolution Tournament. Of course, with each main set release, we get one of these. It says 6K there. It's 3K for Gym Leader Challenge. But like we were talking about a little bit earlier, we see fighting take it all at this tournament. And what are they playing? Playing the new Marshadow, playing the Lunatone, playing the new Solrock, because the Solrock is also a good attacker. If you have Lunatone on the bench, you're hitting for 70, or is it 70 for 1 energy, I believe? But it's still, a pretty good attacker. And then with these low-cost attackers, you have Ting-Lu, you have Okidogi, you have Lucario, and these guys don't take too much to get going. I mean, to both of them is only taking one energy to get going. The Ting-Lu, 30 to everything, 1 energy, except you're having to discard a stadium. Lucario has that revenge, hits for 150 the next turn. Okidogi is just another big guy, and you have all this working together. Now that fighting has draw, you can just kind of churn through that deck a little bit more. Marshadow provides you turns, like extra turns per se, to get things going and back together. And we just got announced the other day, fighting got their own Nessa, where they can get up to 4 in any combination of fighting Pokemon and basic energy. So, I think when that comes out also, this deck is about to do even better, which is kind of funny to say.
Yeah. I think they even got a stage 1 that attaches energy from hand, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Crab
rock guy.
The crab rock dude. Yeah, I don't even know the crab rock dude.
Human crab rock guy.
Okay, all right, cool. All right.
I can't remember his name.
I didn't play that gen, so you know what? Or I didn't care about that one, so don't know its name.
I would
know its name.
I would know.
Let me know in the comments. Or better yet, if you don't know its name, invent one. All right. Crab doodle dude. But yeah,
Crap,
this
man.
this list came out of nowhere. I mean, obviously, like the reason why I mentioned Ting Lu way back at the beginning of this episode, when we talked about the EUIC, was Ting Lu fighting was a thing, and people didn't trust it, people didn't believe it, people didn't have any faith in the consistency of fighting, and probably for good reason. But here we see it gets a draw engine, and draw engine plus cheap efficient attackers plus basically a threat that can take over the game from the second turn in the shape of Okidogi. And you've got a deck list that's mean, lean, and ready to take $3,000 out of Fulgurt Games locker. So this was a
Machine.
yes, exactly. So this is a cool list, and it did well. And then in this tournament after the Mega Evolution set was released too, we got the Garbodor deck that we talked to Ben Morse about, which he and a lot of the people from Fulgurt Games were working on together. That list is really cool too. So again, a lot of brewing happening at this tournament. I'm going to really recommend you guys, if you like these lists or you like what we're saying, go back and check out that recap of the Mega Evolution 3K. And it was probably one of my favorite tournaments to talk about.
Yeah, that Psychic list did not play Gallade, and it was exclusively almost basics and stage ones as well. So there was a lot of
Shopping Center. It was playing Shopping Center.
Playing Shopping Center. So time to go shopping. Get in, loser. We're going shopping. And then next up, we got October.
Nothing happened. I had RSV.
Nothing really happened.
Yeah.
At least I don't think anything happened. I don't think anything happened. But if you might have had the opportunity to catch a Halloween Gengar.
Could have.
I don't even know if they still do that as much. But anyways, October, nothing happened. Brought us to November. We have Mega Evolution Phantasmal Flames. And that is going to pretty much, catch us up to the most recent 3K tournament that we had. Oh, man, I didn't put a 3K tournament slide up there.
Oh, the people are going to be devastated.
I'm devastated. With that one, it wasn't, the biggest cards, at least from my memory, that got put in from Phantasmal Flames. I just know that, whales love ice cream, so I want to throw this in there. If there's 3 energies attached, 80 healed, pretty cool. But then we most recently saw some Psychics playing the new Wondrous patch, which is basically a Metal Saucer, or just just stuff like that to be able to get energy from the discard pile to your pokes on the bench. Really awesome to be able to just cheat energy back into play even faster. With Psychic, they're already playing so many different ways to get energy back out, and Wondrous patch just adds in another factor to that. And then Zacian has that limit break attack. It's very similar to that Mewtwo in the fact that your opponent has to have had 3 prizes or lower left. And if you do that, you get to hit for 90 more damage with this specific Zacian. So that's 140 damage for 2 energy, which isn't bad. And then if you play Dimension Valley, you're going to take 1 colorless off of that, and you're going to be able to do that for 1 energy, which is really good. But Phantasmal Flames, I don't think it was too epically of a meta warping type. It just kind of introduced some new cards. I believe there's Strange Timepiece in here as well, or maybe in a different one. But
yeah, the Toxtricity cool too. There's the Toxtricity.
Yeah, the Toxtricity.
The issue just is like Dark got a little bit of a buff in this set, but obviously losing the double energies was so brutal, and they just never recovered from it. So they get the Toxtricity, which, search your deck, get a card, a Dark Energy card, attach it to one of your bench Pokemon, but put 2 damage counters on it. You're like, oh, that's pretty good. It's got some synergies with what Dark is trying to do. But man, that fighting deck is just lurking, and that weakness matchup is rough. So even though Dark got some buffs, it just wouldn't be enough, and not quite.
Yeah. Hey, there it is. It's right there. I just put it in the wrong order. Fire me.
All right. You're hired.
You're hired guy. I'm hired guy. And then, we do have a winner for that one. That's going to be Hector Ibarra, playing his version of his Psychic deck right here. And, we saw some epic plays come out of this specific Psychic deck with this Cephalon and some different Natu plays with the TM blind side. So we got to, see some of that at work. as well as the Shining Arcana Gardevoir that, lets you draw 2 cards. And if they're an energy, you can put them on your Pokemon. If not, you just get to draw 2 cards. And, this was a different style of Psychic with the new cards as well. Mysterious Garden, Timepiece, Wondrous Patch. There's so many different things necessarily this specific deck.
Yeah, it was cool. And you mentioned the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, which no one was playing. Everyone opts for Gallade, considers it to be one of the best cards. But here we have the Shining Arcana Gardevoir showing off and showing its stuff and doing well. And this tournament was really characterized by a couple things. Hey, Psychic everywhere, right? And Psychic really showed up into water. And it was really Psychic, water, and the rest. That fighting deck really put Lightning, Dark, and Colorless just out of play. They just were deemed unplayable. We didn't see them. But of course, what did come to play at this tournament? Earthworm Metal. Josh, you remember talking about that list?
Yes.
Dude.
Yes, that Metal list. I forgot to talk about another Metal list from earlier that had Metagross in it. But yeah, that Metal list did some work to get up there in the top 8.
So if you're a lover of Metal and you love Earthworm specifically, go check out our recap of this episode again. But this was, again, another good one. You saw the meta shift. People were playing their bench barriers after Ting Lu absolutely devastated people and Psychic came to play. So, yes, good one for Phantasmal Flames, but not a lot of new cards from Phantasmal Flames had that big of an impact in this tournament. Not the same way that Journey Together and Mega Evolution did earlier in the year. Those are definitely the defining sets, in my opinion, of our year.
Yeah, the 3Ks for Mega Evolution and Phantasmal Flames, I believe there was 27 to 31 Psychic players. And that was the majority of the field. And then in this last one, I think it was 27 to 31 Psychic players. And then the next best was 15 fighting players. And 12 of those were playing the same archetype. And it's just crazy that the next most played deck is half of your most played deck. There's a little disparaging, but there in the Psychic there are so many archetypes, and we say that almost every time we talk about these things right now. Is that in Psychic there's you have Psychic type, but within that type you have hundreds of archetypes that you could play with Psychic, because Psychic has so many different good cards. There's a lack of bad cards in Psychic.
A lack of bad cards. Yeah, the card pool is amazing for Psychic. Definitely, if you're a player that loves agency and decision making and loves to play singularly powerful cards, Psychic's the type to go. And as card players, we all love that. We want our brain to be the one on the show, and Psychic lets your brain do the thinking, because you have to figure out how to deal with the 240 HP Whale Lord at times, whereas your water player goes attach 4 energy, smash. It's a lot less thinking sometimes.
Hey, Hector had to play against a water player that had to play against somebody that had to get rid of their Frogadier for a basic energy because of a deck list mishap.
Ooh,
and ended up,
got his drama
playing with a 57, 58 card deck.
Because Rare Candy wasn't on the list.
Yeah. So it just didn't work out for that person. I think it was Austin Berryman that was piloting that water deck. But even with that deck list error, still made it to second place. And we got to give credit where credit's due on that one.
Yes, obviously amazing pilot to be able to fight through all of that in the top 8 and still come out runner-up to, again, an amazing, consistent list from Hector. And obviously, he's got a big brain because he's able to pilot this very well and do all the combo stuff and make Shining Arcana Gardevoir work. His math is mathin'.
Yeah, and I just want to wish everybody a Meta Christmas.
Pause for applause. Yeah. This is where we need Ben. Ben has all the sound effects. When he claps, it does all the sound effects on his mic. Cameron, that
gives a thumbs up. He has the little thumbs up. It goes like this. The balloons start coming down. That's great. Yeah. Meta Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Mash.
No, you did it.
Very good. Before we go into this next segment, I just want to remind you again, if you haven't liked the video, go ahead and like the video, like the podcast. Give us a subscription if you haven't already done so. But let us know down in the comments what you guys loved the most about this year. What's your highlights? What's the best card you thought came out of this year? What's the worst cards, like the biggest dumpster fire cards that came out this year that you thought were going to be here, but they're down here? So we just want to know that down in the comments below. And I'm gonna let you guys know down in the comments below as well my highlights, because we are going to tell you what we think our best cards are and our worst cards.
Oh yeah.
And obviously a lot of these cards are some of the best cards, and not just by speculation or what we like an opinion or anything like that. These are just objectively incredibly good cards. Hops Snorlax, Hops Choice Band, Hops Cramorant, the whole Hops package was crazy for colorless, coming into a double colorless twin energy world, and still somewhat stayed hanging on after that, albeit with the new fighting on the rise with the Lunatone and Soul Rock. And then Wailord and Lily's Determination just doing so much work.
Yeah. I mean, I think Lily's Determination might be the best draw supporter ever printed in the Pokemon TCG. And obviously, we've had research for years, but just like the ability to, save resources, shuffle, draw 6, but then the fact that it's just so good at getting you set up. And even if your opponent takes a prize, and you're falling behind, you get a chance to look at 8 cards potentially. I mean, it's just such a good card. Lily's Determination is really my top dog of the year. And when you look at the company that it's sharing, that really is saying a lot, because those other cards are also just so good. Yeah.
Yeah, really, I think this year came with a host of so many good cards. I think that this year beats out last year by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you could, I don't know, looking back last year too, you're like, we got all those TMs, right? We got Arven, you've got Iron Boulder, you got Okie Dokie. Like, those cards are still also defining Gym Leader Challenge. I think, just new cards in general are defining where our format is at, which is not a bad thing. But again, we mentioned this on the other day. It can feel a bit like a rotating format at times, just because of the way that the power creep is happening. So again, it's cool. It's interesting. It's nice to have these brand new cards. Sorry about your full art, Cynthia, Josh. Rest in peace.
It'll probably stay in there.
That's the correct decision.
But some cards that we thought, we're going to do something, that we're going to be pretty decent, are the cards that you see before you. If you're watching the video, we got Force Vitality. I thought that card was going to go ham. I was like, how is this not getting immediately banned? And, I don't think I played too much of Force Giant Plants at the beginning myself, because I was playing other decks, but I just know how crazy it is to take something from a basic to a stage 2 so quickly. I thought it was going to be crazy, but nope, it's decently balanced. Grass decks aren't running rampant or anything like that, even with Badoo. So I guess it's not so bad of a card where it did that. And it's honestly, you don't hear about it that much either.
No. Yeah, I actually still think this card is kind of busted. I mean, I've had an absolute bonkers win rate with my grass list. This is basically just Rillasaur, but like now you're playing Meganium instead, and yeah. I don't know. I think the deck list is so broken. Obviously, in a world of psychic Wobbuffets and Garbodors, that list looks a lot worse than it did. And obviously, having to hit that 240 mark on a Wailord can be daunting. You need your Torterra to have 5 evolutions, but is there still a place for Grass and Force of Vitality? Maybe, but yeah, it wasn't quite that busted card that we all thought. Josh, you mentioned saying it should be banned. I know many people share that sentiment that it should have been banned on arrival, but it didn't have that impact.
Yeah, another card that we thought were going to be really good for Dark to at least boost it, which it did. It just didn't boost it in the sense of, Okie Dokie boosted fighting or Lunatone Solrock boosted fighting. It just kind of was there, is an option. So I didn't really do what we thought it was going to do. Along with Blaziken, Raikou was so good that we thought, hey, maybe that this is pretty much the same attack, that maybe Fire will get boost it up a little bit more so. And we just haven't seen that happen. I think fighting just like, fire, just like fighting needed just a little something. I think fire needs that, and I think metal needs that.
Yeah. Yeah. The Blaziken just fell a little bit short of the mark. You want it to be so good. It's so balanced when you look at it. And obviously it works well with like reversal energy. 120 kind of misses the mark a bit. Fire doesn't really have great ways to boost damage or maybe to make up that, damage difference that the 120 doesn't hit on the bench, because there's really not a lot of good fire spreaders. So I think Blaziken could still be good. It just needs a little bit of help. And again, maybe one or two good spreaders that are cheap and efficient could really help that out. Toxtricity just has so many downsides to it. Like obviously fighting weakness is the first one when you think about what got printed recently, and then you think about Monkey Dory existing in a format and Toxtricity putting those damage counters onto your Pokemon, and then obviously the cards you want it to put onto are cards like the Spiritomb. Well, if you put that damage counters on the Spiritomb to hit big damage, all of a sudden your opponent's setting up for a 2-prize turn. They Monkey Dory, throw some damage counters at you, take another KO, and all of a sudden your Toxtricity is working against you, and things are looking pretty rough. So just some things to look at about maybe why these cards didn't quite pan out this year. Team's Rocket Arbok is probably needs to be slotted into this list too. A lot of hype surrounding that card. Didn't quite pan out, but the not quites are still could be quites. They just maybe need a little bit of support, and maybe we'll see that in 2026.
Hopefully so. And I remembered, back in, what is it, late September of 2024, or was it late September or early October? Anyways, this pertains to our meme at the end. Around that time, you kind of sent me a message, and it basically stated this: "Bro, let's start a GLC." But you'd already had one going bit already established, and you just came to me, and that was the highlight of my last year. I remember being like, man, this is really cool. This is one of the lights right here. So this is, as we were having fun earlier before the podcast, making up this meme a little bit, but it, thinking about it now is like, this is kind of a meme, but it's true, and I felt, it's really cool. Really cool, man.
Definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made. Like when it came to, obviously, having a kid is great and having my wife is great. Those are up there, Josh. Your top 5 best decisions I've made in my life. We're bringing you on. I think most people would agree too.
Not in any order necessarily, right?
Oh, your top 5. Your top 5. The wife and kid are top 3. All right. Chinchilla.
Okay.
My chinchilla was definitely top 5 too. That leaves one more mystery event. I'll let people know what that is a little.
All right.
You have to watch us next year. We get that spoiler.
Sounds good. But yeah, it's been a wonderful year. It's been awesome to, do another year of this podcast. Really cool. And I'm excited for the year ahead.
Same, buddy. Same.
With that being said, again, let us know down in the comments what your highlight of the year was. And hopefully you guys have a wonderful Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and a whole awesome new GLC year ahead of you. And like always, we'll see you in the next one. But only next time, it'll be next year.